When an alien woman recognizes a human's necklace, she reveals a secret that shatters everything he thought he knew about his father. The tavern sat on the edge of the outpost like a scar left behind by better days. Its walls, patched with sheets of scrap metal, groaned under the pressure of desert winds outside. Within, a haze of smoke and laughter drifted through the air, mixing with the scent of strong alcohol and fried meats. Merchants shouted half-truths about their wares. Miners boasted of rocks heavier than their ships could lift. Off-duty soldiers slumped in corners, their armor dusty, their eyes hollow. It was the kind of place where everyone had a story, and no one wanted it heard. Dan fit in perfectly, or so he thought. He sat alone at the bar, one hand curled around a glass of watered-down liquor, the other idly tugging at the leather cord around his neck. The pendant dangled lazily, a smooth black stone set in tarnished metal. It was old, worn, unremarkable to anyone who looked, except to Dan, who had carried it since childhood. His father's necklace. He didn't wear it out of sentimentality, or so he told himself. It was a habit, comfort. A weight that reminded him of Marcus Hale, the man who had raised him on stories of engines and machines, of hard work and simple truths. His father had never been much of a talker, and when he was, his words carried the heaviness of a man who had seen too much. Dan had never asked where the necklace came from. He never thought to. His father had simply placed it around his neck one night when Dan was still a boy and said, "This is yours now. One day you'll understand why." He never did. Not until tonight. The tavern door groaned open. The noise inside dulled, as if sound itself faltered. She entered with measured steps, draped in a long cloak that failed to mask the striking hue of her skin. Cerulean blue, marbled with faint silver veins that shimmered under the dim light. Her hair, long and braided, shone white as snow. Her eyes, bright, luminous, scanned the room with the sharpness of someone who had lived centuries. Most patrons looked away. Some stared too long. Dan didn't notice her at first, not until those glowing eyes landed squarely on him. Or rather, on the pendant that rested against his chest. She froze mid-step. Her breath caught. And in a voice that sliced through the tavern's murmur, she spoke. "Where did you get that necklace?" The tavern fell into silence. Dan blinked, confused. He glanced down at the pendant, then back up at her. "This," he said, holding it between his fingers. "It was my father's." The woman's expression darkened. She stepped closer, boots silent against the metal floor. Conversation stopped. Even the bartender leaned back, uncertain. Her voice carried a strange blend of fear and reverence. "Do you even know what you're wearing?" Dan frowned. "A rock on a string." He forced a laugh. "Look, lady, if you're trying to buy it, it's not for sale." Her hand trembled as she pointed. "That is no trinket. That is the sigil of Vale. Lost for centuries. Buried with the last of its guardians. It cannot be here. It cannot be with you." The weight of the room shifted. Eyes turned toward Dan, whispers swelling like a storm. He felt heat rising in his chest. "You've got the wrong guy. My dad was just a mechanic. Worked on mining rigs, fixed up engines. Nothing more." But the alien woman shook her head, disbelief etched into every line of her face. "Tell me his name." Dan hesitated. "Marcus Hale." Her jaw tightened. She whispered the name as if it were forbidden. "Impossible." She slid into the seat beside him, lowering her voice, though her urgency sharpened every word. Marcus Hale should not exist. That bloodline was extinguished during the purge. Entire families burned to ash so the Dominion could ensure the sigil was never wielded again. Dan stared at her, disbelieving. "My dad wasn't a soldier. He wasn't part of, whatever you're talking about." The woman's eyes softened, but only slightly. "He was hiding you. Hiding this. Do you not see? That necklace binds more than memory. It is a key, a weapon, a map to power you cannot comprehend. It can open gates between galaxies, rouse machines older than stars. Your father must have known. The pendant pulsed faintly, just for a moment. Dan's chest tightened. He remembered his father's silence, the way Marcus sometimes stared at the necklace as though it weighed more than stone, more than metal. The nights he would wake from nightmares, clutching it in his fist. Dan shook his head violently. No. My dad fixed engines. That's it. You're wrong. But a cold dread seeped into his bones. Deep down, he knew she wasn't. Before he could ask more, the tavern doors slammed open. Figures flooded in, mercenaries clad in crimson armor, their visors glowing red, rifles raised. The patrons scattered in panic, tables overturned. The woman cursed. They found us. Blaster fire seared past Dan's head, splintering the bar. The bartender dove for cover. Dan froze, heart pounding. The alien woman grabbed his arm. Move. They bolted through the back, weaving through narrow alleys reeking of oil and dust. The necklace throbbed against his chest, glowing faintly as though alive. Dan gasped for breath. What the hell is happening? They are seekers, she spat, glancing back. Slaves of the Dominion. They have hunted the sigil across centuries. And now they know it rests with you. Dan stumbled. Why me? Why now? Her eyes flicked to him, sharp and unyielding. Because you are Marcus Hale's son. His blood runs in you. The sigil answers only to that bloodline. Explosions tore through the alleys as the seekers closed in. They reached the docking bay where a ship loomed, sleek, its hull shimmering with energy. She shoved him forward. Get inside, or you die here. Dan didn't argue. Stars bled into streaks as the ship surged into hyperspace. Dan slumped into a chair, lungs burning, mind racing. The woman piloted with steady hands, though her eyes darted toward him. Finally, she spoke. My name is Soraya. I was there the day your father vanished. He carried the sigil as the last guardian of Vale. He swore it would never fall into Dominion hands. I thought him dead. Dan shook his head, voice hoarse. He never said a word. Not about this. Not about you. Soraya's gaze softened. Because he loved you enough to spare you the burden. But the galaxy is less forgiving. And now it has come to collect. Dan stared at the necklace, the way it pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. He wanted to throw it out the airlock. He wanted his old life back. But somewhere beneath the fear was something else, a rising flame, a sense of purpose he had never known. Their eyes met. In that silence, something fragile passed between them, trust, maybe even something deeper. And then alarms blared. The Dominion had found them. The ship shuddered as enemy fire rocked the hull. Soraya's fingers danced across the console. We cannot outrun them. Dan clutched the pendant. Heat surged through his veins, visions flashing before his eyes, stars bending, ancient gates igniting, his father's voice echoing faintly, when the time comes, you will know what to do. The sigil pulsed, casting light across the cockpit. A map unfolded in the air, star systems, hidden gateways, routes forgotten by millennia. Soraya gasped. You've awakened it. Dan rose, steady now. Then we use it. The seekers closed in, weapons locking. Dan held the sigil high. The gate ahead flared to life, a colossal ring of light spanning across the void. The ship dove through just as enemy fire ripped past them. Silence. Stars reformed, serene and untouched. Dan collapsed back into the chair, sweat slicking his brow. The sigil dimmed but did not go dark. Soraya turned to him, awe softening her hardened face. You are more than Marcus Hale's son. You are the heir to his promise. The sigil has chosen you. Dan swallowed hard, fingers brushing the pendant. Then I'll honor it. Whatever it takes. Her eyes lingered on him, gentler now. You do not have to carry it alone. In that fragile moment, two worlds bridged an impossible divide. Their bond was forbidden, their enemies countless, but they had something stronger than fear, hope. Narrator's close. Humanity's greatest strength has never been its weapons or its power. It lies in the love it inspires, the legacies it protects, and the courage to step into the unknown. For Dan Hale, this was not the end of his journey. It was the beginning of humanity's place among the stars.